as you just noticed, the webinar is being recorded. So those who have showed interest but didn't manage to attend will be able to watch the video on our YouTube channel. It'll be uploaded pretty soon for those who may have missed this session. So yeah, welcome to tonight's webinar, guys. Let me just start with a little bit of background. Well, JUICE Academy, an online educational institution that has been empowering students in Iran and outside with quality education, especially IELTS preparation for the past decade, is celebrating its 10th anniversary this year. To mark this milestone, we decided to organize a webinar titled Teacherpreneurship. In this webinar, we will focus on 3 key areas: personal and business branding, preventing and recovering from burnout, and promoting true mindfulness techniques through this, true mindfulness techniques. Through this event, we're hoping to provide insights into building trust and credibility with students and colleagues, attracting more students, networking opportunities, career advancement, and increased student engagement and achievement. This webinar is being, of course, recorded because we expected some people not to show up. So, and first of all, let me go over some important, housekeeping items to ensure that everyone has a smooth and enjoyable experience. Well, during the presentation, please use the chat if you have any questions that cannot wait. We'll be happy to address them. Otherwise, there will be a Q&A section at the end of this webinar where you will be able to ask your questions. During that time, you will be able to turn on your microphones. All right. By the way, my apologies for being a little hoarse tonight. I've got this cold and I have a temperature too. So Kasra, my dear friend and colleague, kindly will be doing most of the hard work. All right, Kasra, over to you.
Thank you, Mehdi, for the wonderful introduction. And yeah, I do know that you have had a relatively bad cold. I'm very happy that you managed to be in the session, and I am very thankful for that. Welcome, everyone, to today's webinar. As Mehdi kindly and correctly mentioned, JUICE Academy is celebrating its 10th anniversary. So it's been 10 years teaching, being active in education as a very proactive. Is there a problem with my mic? 1, 2, 3. I don't know why. 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me? Please type. Yeah. No. Yes. Yes. Okay. So yeah, Elham says yes. Okay. All right. And so after 10 years in being education, being in different layers of education, we were the first to have online education available on our platform. Then we were the first to have a blended education system, the first introduced in Iran and probably in the Middle East. And now with the advancement of AI and with all the technologies going around us, we found that the time, or the right time actually, to address this matter. So without further ado, let's dive in section by section. So today we're going to talk about teacherpreneurship. as Mehdi said, we want to know how you can build your own brand. So it can be a personal brand or a business brand. So there are levels and layers that would be to the business side. In the middle, there will be, based on the registered members' requests, we are going to focus on burnout, which seems to be a massive and very important element in the path to success, in the path to becoming a teacherpreneur. And finally, we want to focus on mindfulness. We want to see what it is and why it is actually that important that we mentioned it here. So Mehdi and I have been working on Juice Academy, the parent company for IELTS Juice, and we've been focusing on ESB English as a second language and also English for specific purposes. So we focused on different exams, most specifically IELTS, and we realized that the type of teacher that gets into the room needs to know not only the way or methods to teach and deliver information to the students, but they also need to know the technologies, psychology, and they also need to know the business itself. So that helped us create this outline for today. Basically, we are going to give you examples of things that have happened in our teacherpreneurship journey as teachers who decided to say goodbye to a language school and found their own online language school, which was at that point unprecedented. And then the branding, all the details, of course, that would be very time consuming to unpack here, but we're going to focus on some of the key features. Then burnout, of course, the moments that happened, and finally, mindfulness. So I told you the beginning, the introduction, but right now, if you can kindly type in the chat, I want to know what your definition of teacherpreneur is. Is it more than just a teacher who's also an entrepreneur? Is it just two words joined and created a word which is a bit longer? I wonder what your interpretation of entrepreneurship, teacherpreneur is. You can type, everyone. That's beautiful. Maybe it means how to look at the job of teaching as a business. That's fine. That's fine. No. As a teacher who works independently, doesn't depend on an institution to manage the students. That's also another beautiful definition of teacherpreneur. So I tell you again, as I told you, there will be some examples. So at IELTS Juice, we always had this mindset that a teacher these days needs to be aware of the knowledge and the technology. So every time I say this word, the Terminator picture comes in my head, that comes to my head, that so there's a 50% robot and 50% human. So you need to be partially a teacher, a kind, gentle soul, a person who is there for the students. And at the same time, you need to think systematically. You need to talk business. You need to know how money works. You need to know how to manage multiple classes without exerting a lot of pressure on yourself. You need to create a system so that the system will be able to handle your classes and your routines and your students and their needs. So that not everything is upon you. And that means avoiding burnout. We'll get there. So, you know what happened before that? There are multiple similarities between a teacher and an entrepreneur. You know, a teacher is passionate about education, giving some information to their students. Well, an entrepreneur is similarly passionate. They want to have their items delivered to their clients. It's the same. When you see a student uses the present simple structure that you just taught him or her at school, the next session or the session after, when you ask them, "Hello, how are you?" and they respond, "Good, how are you?" and there is a meaningful communication. That is the exact same feeling when somebody in a corporate world sees that a person on the street is using their product. Imagine the Coca-Cola company, the owner of Coca-Cola company sees a young child drinking Coca-Cola. It's the same passion. The next similarity is that both want to solve problems. What is the teacher's problem? The teacher's problem is to deliver whatever there is in his head, including knowledge and methodologies and everything and experience, and have it delivered to the minds of his or her students. To do this, you need to come up with creative ideas. That's why we have different methods, different games in our classrooms. We come up with different styles of delivering, of delivering information in the class. We pair students with, there will be group works. We create information gap. We give some students some cars, we give others other cars. We might create debates in higher level classes. Those were problems our ancestors in teaching came across, and they solved it. Similarly, in the entrepreneurial world, you face such questions. Many people think to themselves, well, let's see, we need something that will be able to help a manager communicate with its team without being actively on the team. And then you have different systems like Trello to manage your team without even being physically available or physically there. Or even further back, to be connected to your team. In the past, it wasn't possible when you were driving or you were in a car. Now you can just pair your mobile phone with your car And while you're driving, you can just speak to the microphone and install in your car, and you can communicate with your team. All these questions are there, and these people think how to solve them. Teachers are also risk takers. Tell me, how many of you have felt not joy and anxiety were kind of mixed together when you entered your very first class or very first classroom? Maybe it was an online classroom, maybe it was on-site. You had this feeling, what might happen? Who my students will be? That is the level of risk that you're willing to take. But you know from experience, and you know from the experience of other teachers, that it's going to be joyful. It's going to be very rewarding. At the end of the day, your students will thank you for the knowledge they acquire. But you had to take the first risk. You had to step into the door. You had to let some new people communicate with you. Again, in the business world, that's the same. They also take risks. They don't know whether their product is successful or not. And trust me, looking at the numbers, more than 80% of products never see the light of day. They just die at different phases. So it's a very, very risky world, and they also risk takers. Goal-oriented. Again, we as teachers always go into our classes prepared. You know, we have data stored on what elements we're going to teach, what vocabulary we need to focus on, what to do if something goes wrong, if we need a backup plan or not. In the business world, again, entrepreneurs do the same thing. They want to solve a problem. They don't want to create the perfect product, because there's no such thing. They just need to solve. So their goal is to focus on addressing that single point. And finally, teachers and entrepreneurs love learning. Teachers learn. The information is there. They read books, they acquire knowledge, they get experience. In the entrepreneurial world, that's the same, with a little added trouble of going through trial and error, which that might also happen in the classroom. You might try some techniques. You don't know whether it's going to be effective in your classes or not. But either way, that will help. And finally, as the final point, I have to move on. Teachers, of course, are excellent communicators. Entrepreneurs are also great communicators. How do we know that? They are very good salespeople. They know how to sell their products. They know how to pitch a product to an investor. They know how to communicate with their clients. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to sell any of their products. So both entrepreneurs and teachers are passionate, problem solvers, risk takers, goal-oriented. They love learning new things, and they are excellent communicators. So it was only natural that these two groups come together and create Teacherpreneurship. Now, this is probably one of the most important slides tonight for this webinar. A teacherpreneur is no longer somebody who holds the information. we all remember the time that the teacher was the go-to person, the person who had acquired the knowledge, and I specifically say the knowledge, whatever available about that topic at that point. And the students would look up to their teachers and their teaching, and they would write everything down. They would look at the teacher's mouth and the blackboard to get the knowledge, because that was the only source of information for them to get. That's not the case anymore. Those days are gone. We are no longer the sole bearers of information. The information is now out there, everywhere. If you want to check the difference between, or if you want to know what the difference between past simple and present perfect is, you can just type it. There will be millions of websites probably giving you information, and hundreds of thousands of YouTube videos to watch. So the information is there, but teachers are still here, right? The teachers today, not only do they have the information, they also need to know how to deliver the information. So we need to go out there, look at all the sources, and choose the best source to present at our classes. That becomes the art and knowledge. So we know the information, but we need to know which one serves our clients, our students best. And that differentiates us. This is the birth of teacherpreneurs, a new way that teachers decide themselves what information they believe is important. They prioritize it based on their own knowledge and experience, and then they deliver the information in their classrooms. When a teacher delivers the information and decides on his or her own what information to be delivered in his or her class, now we see the birth of personal branding. So you can see a lot of people on Instagram, for instance, that they want to teach you something. So they get 10 words and they start putting some slides or animations or anything fancy to get new clients, get likes. And at the same time, they try to create a productive post or story. That is how that's the need, and that's where it actually starts. But there is more to it. Here, we gathered 3 elements, and we think it is, we're going to give you some hopefully good examples. When you want to decide to become the teacher in this day and age, you need to build trust. So trust in the entrepreneurial world, the equivalent of trust is paper money, or it's cash. It is the trust in the entrepreneurial world that you wake up at 7 a.m., you take a taxi, you go to the bank, and you know if you insert the plastic card into an ATM machine, it will give you cash that you need for the day. That is the trust. So the method is paper money for that world. For us is the presence of knowledge. So we know how to solve our students' problems. How do we do that? When I said presence of knowledge, you need to be present. Where the first question comes to mind is, where are you? What is your platform? Where can I reach you? You have the knowledge, you're the teacher, you're the go-to person, you claim to be a top teacher that knows English very well. Cool. Where are you? One option would be to create your personal website. My name is Castro, my surname is Sharifan. You join it together, you create castrosharifan.com. That becomes a website. That's a personal website. People can type easily and search and go to. Maybe it's the right time you think of creating your own personal website. On the website, you can have both YouTube algorithms or codes, and at the same time, you can have Facebook, links, Instagram. So everything can be hosted there on one place. If you don't have a personal website, or you don't have access to servers, or it's time consuming or maybe costly, LinkedIn is free. You can work on your LinkedIn. I had a teacher back in university. She would tell me that you need to update your resume or LinkedIn account every season. If it's not that frequent, every 6 months, but no later than that. So between 3 to 6 months, you need to revisit your LinkedIn account. You need to update it. We need to have something to add within the 3 to 6 month period to add to our LinkedIn account. And finally, other than LinkedIn and a personal website, which are the formal ways to communicate with your students, there are other ways to reach you. There are other platforms like Instagram that you can create a page and people can send messages, but you don't have much control over the page. So your page will be somehow similar to other people's pages in the same frame, and you're limited to writing or creating certain posts or stories. It is still a very strong platform. The same thing goes for Facebook. Again, there are pre-made platforms, and they tell you what to put, what the image size should be, what size, how many words you can type. So they limit you. Maybe you don't want to have those limits, or maybe you do. But these are some platforms that they would work, but to some extent. Based on this, I personally prefer a personal website and a LinkedIn account. But that's me. You need to check whether the whole point is you need to be reachable by your students. The next aspect would be building credibility. Now, attending seminars, webinars, going to TTC courses, getting different certificates from reliable organizations will help you and will help your students to know who you are. So in simple form, there are other organizations telling the world that this teacher knows what he or she is doing. And that will add to your credibility. So it's not just you telling everybody that, yeah, I am the go-to person. Yeah, I know English, sit in my classes. There are other institutes that they basically give you certificates saying that this individual can hold such classes. Next point, take the test. if you claim to be an IELTS expert, you need to sit the test first. You need to be your own student first. If we can succeed in teaching ourselves, then we will be able to succeed in teaching other people. So if I take the test, take an IELTS test, and I'll get a very good score, then I have something to show others that, look, I did it, so can you. And I will be your guide. I will help you pass the test. That's one simple idea to add credibility, but that's not the only one. There are many people who pass the test, but they are not very good teachers. I'm not saying this is the only way. I'm just saying if you want to be the go-to person, you want to add credibility, you need to take the test. So you need to be master of that craft. The third part is to show activity. You need to show signs of being alive. There should be periodic posts, communications, answering people on chats, or also maybe taking videos, short videos of your classes and uploading them on social media platforms that are related to you to show that you are active, you are in this field. There are other people who are also had already trusted you and are in this field. It will add to your credibility again. And include students. You need other people's opinion here. You also need their testimonies. You need their reviews. You need other people to tell other people that you're good. That is in business called word of mouth. So that's the most effective marketing technique. So for instance, if I buy like a milk product and I drink and it tastes very good, and in the next meeting with my family, I can tell them that, yeah, I drink this brand of milk. It is of the highest possibility that the others would also follow me and buy the same brand. That is not as effective as seeing an advertisement of the milk on TV. So that's a different story. So I wanted just to tell you that in the entrepreneurial world, word of mouth is absolutely important. The equivalent of word of mouth in our business, in teaching, is to include students and creating and helping them create the buzz. So that there are students telling other students how good the session was, how good the teacher is. And this happens. They're back and forth with this. And then networking. I already told you about students' reviews. There are platforms that people can go and type reviews. So for every shop, again, from the entrepreneurial perspective, if you want to go to a restaurant and on Google Map you type, yeah, today I want to eat hamburger, it will give you, I don't know, up to 50 restaurants nearby that they sell hamburgers, and 3 stars, 2 stars, 4.5 stars. And then basically you just click and read reviews, and you read recent reviews. But as for this one, there are other platforms that they write reviews. Reviews.io, for instance, is one of them, but it's not the best one. There are other platforms. You can talk and you can create accounts on them so that you, at the end of each session or course, you pass it on to other students to write reviews. On LinkedIn, you can ask other colleagues to endorse you for your skills. That is that you have already added your skills on LinkedIn. Ask for their endorsement. There's no need to be shy. There is no reason to be shy. And Trustpilot, yeah, Trust Index, yeah, those are also good ones. Thank you. There is no need to be shy here. You need to ask other people's endorsement here. And there are other activities like holding, I don't know, you hold seminars, you hold webinars, you give free content, you give presentations, you do voluntary work. That will help you create your own brand. Moving on to the burnout part. We all heard that teachers are candles, they burn to give light. Well, I disagree. We don't need to sacrifice ourselves for the betterment of society. With the current technology, we can go nuclear. Why not? We can be the power source. So there are ways that we can prevent burnout and we can continue being a source of energy and power for our students. Every time we go, before we enter the class, it takes only seconds to think what to expect, what might happen in our classroom, and just prepare our minds for that. That's a simple technique. Takes seconds. You prepare yourself for the day. I saw many people, they wake up, they go to work. That's wrong. You wake up, and the first thing you need to do is to prepare yourself for the day. You need good breakfast. Maybe you take a shower. Maybe you want to walk. You want to exercise. Whatever. The first thing you do for the day is to pay attention to yourself. Next, you need colleagues that you can rely upon. There are other teachers around you. There should be other teachers around you that they know you and you know them. In case there is something you want to ask them, you can ask for explanation on a certain grammatical structure, for instance. You cannot attend a session. You can ask them to attend them instead of you. But those people must be there with you. And I was thankful to have Mehdi by my side all these years. Third, you need correct habits. It is not the major things that has the major effect on our lives. It's the small, everyday, innocent things that will break the camel's back. If you don't sleep well, if your diet contains fast food, soft drinks, these materials, I mean, the diet, the food, everything you eat will give you a boost of energy for a short period, and after that, a long period of fatigue. And if this happens every time, every day, 365 days a week, it will add to your burnout. I will not go into the relationship parts, but it is also important. You need to check it yourself and see with the people around you who you have a positive relationship and with whom you have a negative one. The rule of thumb here is that you being with them needs to add to both of you in that relationship. If one is positive, the other negative, or both are negative, that is just not, it's not going to work. How to recover from burnout? Well, let's say there is burnout. Burnout is a very, very strong word. It's not just tiredness. At this point, you cannot just say, yeah, thank you, I just want to go to bed. Going to bed at this point doesn't help. You need to stop, and stop in all capital. So everything you have been doing so far, you need to stop it and revisit all the activities that you have been doing, because those activities and habits resulted in the fatigue, in the burnout at this point. So you need to stop. Sleeping is not the solution. And you need to change the habits. Now, maybe it's just one habit or other habits, but maybe it's the number of classes you take. Maybe it's the type of classes you take. Maybe it's the hour of the classes that you have taken so far. Everything, just you need to change them. And also, it all starts with your thoughts and it ends with your thoughts. Burnout comes when you think that the work that you're putting in doesn't yield enough reward. So you value the reward and the work or the effort, and you see it's not valuable, it's worthless, it's not a good deal. So you need to change your thoughts. That's a longer process, and that will help us to get into the important part of this webinar, and the last part, mindfulness. So I'm using mind over matter. This time it's not matter, we're doing mind over mattress. We don't want to sleep to solve this issue. We need to learn how to work with our minds. First thing is to practice gratitude. So it is the fact that you know English, you have students, you are already speaking the language of science and technology in this year, in this decade, in this century. So that's something. So every single day you should be thankful for that. And you need to have you need to pat on your back, your own back, that you acquired this knowledge. You just need to perfect it. You just need to work on it. Yes, of course, that is correct. But this must happen daily, every day. Maybe in the beginning of the day, maybe in the morning or at night. Doesn't matter, but it must happen every day. Every time you step into your classroom. We know we always have bad students, nagging students, some not very okay in our classrooms. Some might come with other intentions. Yes, those happen. But if you prepare your mind that when you step in the room, there will be some students like this. If there are none, good, but there will definitely be at least one very good student. So it's better to focus on those and be thankful for that. Journaling means writing down the events that have happened to you. I use this technique and I use it in English. So everything that happened to me, I force myself to write them down. If it is something good, bad, whatever it is, I jot it down. And I try to use English again, and I try to use the best word, the most appropriate grammar, the best vocabulary to express my feeling. So that's an opportunity for me to also learn and maybe review what I learned. The last one, 4-7-8 technique. Despite all the bad things happening at our classrooms, at our business, in our lives, in our relationships, we still breathe. We are still breathing, aren't we? You are right now breathing. You that are listening to my webinar right now speaking, you are breathing right now. So that is the basis of meditation. That means whatever happens, you are still here. and air still comes into your lungs and comes out of it. You inhale and you exhale. To help you, there is a technique that in 4 counts, I'm not saying seconds, in 4 counts, you inhale deeply as much air you can into your lungs. And then you keep it for 7 counts inside. And then in 8 counts, you exhale through mouth so that the lungs will be emptied. So it is very deep. So in 4 counts, you take deep breaths, and in 4 counts, you take a deep breath, you hold it for 7 counts, and then you exhale it through mouth in 8 counts. All the counts can be done in your head. Do it 3 times, and whatever happens at that moment, you will already start to feel that you're beginning to have control over your thoughts, over the situation, and your mind starts solving the issue at hand. That's a proven method. And to help you, I'm going to introduce Balance. Balance app, if you search it, is available on App Store and Google Play. Is a wonderful app. I used it before Corona. I started using it before Corona, and I've been using it ever since. It's in English, and the person who gives you meditation lessons helps you navigate your thoughts, your ideas, and helps you separate your thoughts from yourself so that you command whatever happens, not just for your classrooms, for students, but also for the business. And that concludes today's webinar. I hope we were able to show who a normal teacher was, and was effective at that point. But right now, you have an update available, not on your phones, but on yourself. So Teacherpreneur 2.0 is available for download. I don't know whether you would press it or not. That is yours to decide. But I hope that was effective and hopefully carried some information. With that, Eddie, it is time for the Q&A session.
Thank you very much, Castro, for this presentation. Yeah, I hope you guys saw some value in today's webinar, tonight's webinar. And if you have any questions to ask at this point, feel free to do so. And if you're watching this on YouTube, you can ask your questions in the comments section. We'll be happy to address them later on as well.